Hi there. This is Jessie Torres, and today our conversation is going to be around one of my favorite topics that there is, and it's around kindness. Hi there. And I want to make sure that we address this from the context of its potency and what it is as an actual superpower. Um, there was a moment in my life where kindness shifted everything for me. So in a moment where death was what I was praying for, and where I wanted my life to just be over because it was too painful to live with what I was living with at that moment in time. And I was praying that someone would blow the red light or just finish it for me, because taking my own life was not an option because of my children, because I had my three children and I didn't want to do that to them. And in a moment where I didn't know how to see beyond my current circumstances, my current situation, and I didn't anticipate that there could be anything different than what I was experiencing, I met some people and they treated me with kindness in such a way that it short-circuited me. It changed. I didn't even know to call it kindness, to be honest. I didn't know to call it kindness. I just knew that something felt different. My mind was like, wait, you're being this way to me and you want nothing from me? Like, I didn't know what that was, because my father had told me that, people, want to get in your pants. So be careful and don't talk to anybody, and that's what he was doing. He was abusing me. So he gave me that perspective. And then in my marriage, my husband said, just people subconsciously want to break up a good thing. So don't talk about our marriage to anybody. And so I always thought that almost like people were dangerous, like you didn't want to express, you didn't want to communicate, you didn't want to even make too much connection, because there would be a moment in time where they would want to take advantage of you and they would want to take from you something. And so I never saw through those lenses, and I was always hyper vigilant. And then in this moment where apathy was my emotional home, and I didn't believe that there could be a life different than what I was experiencing, these people acted in kindness, and it short-circuited me. Whatever tiny light, whatever flicker was inside of me that kept me still alive, it fanned that fire. And I didn't know to call it kindness at the time, but what I knew was that I thought, if this feeling is available in life, then life is worth living. And from that moment on, it changed everything for me. It gave me the power and the strength to decide what I needed to do in order to want to live, to want to give my children a different experience, to want to get out of a very bad situation. And please know that with everything in my being, I have nothing but gratitude for every part of my journey, including my marriage. However, in that moment, I couldn't see past the pain I was in. And the people that were kind to me, I hope someday I'm able to find them, because they will never know that they changed the trajectory of the rest of my life by their act of kindness. And it was something so simple. It was a group in a class, and they ended up buying me a Best Buy card because I recorded a video. It was so simple, but just the fact that they all got together and put money in together to buy me a gift as a thank you, I was blown away. So I look at that and I think, that act of kindness saved my life. From my perspective, there was no alternative, but their act changed something in me. It made me feel alive again. And from this moment where I sit today, I'm committed and convicted to spreading this message around the world, because in a time where we feel so helpless, right? Where we feel like there's so much going on in the world, and there's so much fear being infiltrated, and there's so much weighted energy and suffering going on, that we can start to feel that we are helpless in it, that we're not powerful enough to make a difference. And I just want to bring out and call to the table that that is absolutely not true. That your ability to act in kindness with intention, okay, every morning asking yourself, whose life will be better because of me today? And then ending the day with a share with, whether it's a community of people, whether it's your family or whatever, whose life was better because of you today. And trust me when I tell you, we do not know the bombs that are going off in people's lives. At the moment that that happened with me, no one knew what I was going through. No one knew that I was apathetic and wanted to die, because I didn't come out with that. So we don't get to know. We don't get to know what's going on in people's world and whether it's going to save their life or not. We just get to behave. And because there's so much weighted energy in the world right now, I invite you to act with intention in an act of kindness, and trust that it is the greatest thing you could possibly gift a human being. A gentle touch or a smile or a compliment. We can affect change in the world right now. And it doesn't have to be this big grandiose thing. We think we have to, join a nonprofit or commit to something like that. And all of those things are fantastic. And I honor and love people that do that. But please don't underestimate the power of your love and your ability to change the world right now. Because one human being's world changed can literally change hundreds and thousands more. Because for whatever it's worth, those people that acted kind to me, they don't know. What it awoke in me was a desire to experience that feeling, and not just experience it, but live it and give it. And now I'm committed to doing that. So every human being that I touch in kindness is a product or a ripple effect of them doing that with me. And so you don't know, what if the person who you were kind to are the next Martin Luther King? We don't know. What if it wasn't them, but it was their child that now gets the ripple effect of their open heart because you were kind to them, and they go home and they behave differently? Or maybe your act of kindness actually woke up something in them that said, you know what? The life I'm living is not the life I want, or the abuse that I'm tolerating no longer has to be the case, because there's this feeling that's available that I don't experience in this world. And then if I want to continue to live in any form of happiness whatsoever, I've got to go chase that feeling. And that gives strength enough to make a decision to not tolerate whatever pain they're in. And that could be from an abusive situation to a bad mindset habit. We don't know, but we do get a decision and a choice to make every single day to act with intention and to act in love and with kindness to one another. And I believe we can change the world, because kindness, by the way, love is innate in us. Okay, love is part of what is scripted. To be kind is scripted in our DNA. We're born in this beautiful, beautiful purity of spirit, and the nurture of our parents, feeding us, clothing us, allows us to stay alive. So it's woven. Now we grow up and then things happen and people treat us unkind, And we start to write a script around who we think we need to be. But know that at the core of our essence is the desire and the ability and the want to be kind, and not just express kindness, but the beauty of the law of reciprocity is that when you act in kindness, you get it back. Even a simple smile and a smile reflected back to you just expands your heart. That energy expanded is energy that transmutes everywhere. Like it goes everywhere. It transcends. Energy it travels light years. So if we act in kindness, if we are an expression of love, which is innate in us, and that energetic frequency of our heartbeat is expressing love, that energy, we can change the world. When there is an act of unkindness, when someone behaves in a way that hurts you, or just is unkind or is mean or anything like that, please note that is a reflection of their pain, not what is necessarily true about you. Now, here's why. Because love is innate in us, anything other than an expression of love is incongruent with our DNA, with our makeup. So that being the case, that act of cruelty or unkindness is more a reflection from a deep rooted wound versus a core essence. And unfortunately, what happens with us is when somebody treats us unkind or bullies us or says mean things, we start to believe that is what's true about us. If your mom calls you a loser every day and you look at her and you think, well, she's the one that's supposed to love me unconditionally, and she thinks I'm a loser, well, then I guess the world is going to think I'm a loser, and we adopt that as our truth. My mom said so, so I guess I'm a loser. Versus recognizing that name calling or whatever abuse, verbally, emotionally, mentally, physically, whatever, is more a construct of their pain and suffering than it is what you are or who you are. We just don't know any better at the time that it happens. But if we can be witness to that right now and still behave in kindness, even though we may have been treated unkind, that's the beauty of the human being. Now, it doesn't mean you have to stay on the other end of someone's, daggers or their bullets flying, but you can send them love, and you can show up in love and compassion and move out of the situation. See, love and light will always prevail. But in those moments where darkness comes in or someone's cruel and we shrink, now we meet darkness with darkness and we think it's winning. It's in those moments that we're meant to turn up the light. We're meant to show up in even bigger love. And trust me when I tell you, I know we're humans, and I have to ask myself, the question is, what would love do in this moment? Because sometimes I might not feel so loving, especially when someone attacks my child, my son, on social media. I want to attack with Mama Bear, and I have to pull back and I go, wait a minute. First of all, that's not true about my son. And the fact that she would behave that way is more a reflection of her pain, not his truth. And when we're able to be witness to humanity that way, we start to show up with less judgment. Now, the other piece around less judgment is that when we show up in judgment of anyone, there is an essence of our own self-judgment happening. Right? If we believe that all is in divine order and people are doing the best they can or whatever, we can surrender our judgment of them showing up in any way other than what they're doing. But sometimes, like, I remember there was a time where I was in a lot of scarcity. Okay. So when my girlfriend would come over and she would show up in scarcity. And then I healed that, and I no longer lived in that space. And I now an abundance mindset, I'm good with that. But then my girlfriend, who I hadn't seen in a long time, comes over and she's in scarcity. And some of the comments she would make would trigger me. I would get triggered by it. And I'm like, why? Like, she'd look in my fridge and say, see what I had in there to drink. And instead of asking if she could have a drink, she would say like, oh my goodness, I'm so thirsty. Gosh, I wish I would have got a drink at the store. You know what I mean? Like, and I get triggered by like, why didn't you just ask me? You just looked in my fridge. You know what I mean? But I had to stop and I had to recognize that my judgment of her was merely a part of me that still needed my love. There was a part of me that was still judging myself for having a scarcity mindset. And so it called me to heal that versus judge her. And that was tricky because it's sneaky. It's not her. She doesn't have any responsibility to this. It's me. I had to take a look within me to say, why did that trigger me? Why is that bothering me? It's because I had an inner self-judgment around it with myself. And so now when somebody else demonstrated that behavior, it triggered me and I wanted to bark. And that's not who I am. So it's a beautiful reflection for healing that still needs to happen. And the beauty is, if it isn't her, it'll be somebody else. If I don't heal this part of me, it'll be represented in other people. And I will walk around in the triggered state unless I go and I heal it. So we have to be kind to ourselves. We have to love ourselves. When we're able to see our own divinity and our own beauty, then we're able to see humanity through a different set of lenses. But we can't do it if we don't do the inner work ourselves. And so I invite you to take a look. Right? Take a look. What are your triggers? What things come about that trigger you? And see it as an opportunity for your love, for it to be brought to the surface, for you to be kind with yourself, love yourself. And then I would anchor that when that happens, you go and you be kind to somebody else, because it will affect change. It will. The Mark Twain has a quote. He says, kindness is a language which the deaf can hear and the blind can see. The essence of kindness is an action. It's an expression of love. If that is who we are innately, then we can come back to it versus, killing ourselves and berating ourselves out in society and getting attacked because you have a difference of opinion. Instead, we show up with love and we come back to love and we represent love through our kind acts. We can come back to that and we can shift our world. I believe it can change lives because it did mine. And the other part about kindness, which is really kind of cool, it actually slows down the aging process, because the rhythm of your heart in an act of kindness, because it is a beat, right? When you think about it, Dr. Emoto's test of the water or the plants, when you speak hate to a plant, it dies. And when you speak love to it, it flourishes. Or the water that he did, the water where the kind words created beautiful shapes like snowflakes. And the ones with unkindness or hatred were just these ugly forms. If we are more than 75% water, imagine what our own inner dialogue can do to us. If we're not kind to ourselves, we can start to deteriorate ourselves. So we have to pay attention to that and realize that the more kindness we express, the more kindness we get in return, the more love we feel, the more the rhythm of our heart is acting in coherence. We reverse the aging process. We build our immune system, because this is who we are innately. It's all science, guys. So if that's the case, there's only good to be had on the other side of our act of kindness. So I implore you, I challenge you to, first of all, take a look within, What parts of you need your love, need your kindness? Pay attention when you're triggered by others and see it as a call for something to be surfaced for you to love on, and then take action by acting in kindness to another human being. Ask yourself whose life will be better because of me today, and go to bed knowing that you intentionally set the trajectory of someone's life to be better on the other side of your kindness, on your actions, on your words, on your gentle touch, whatever that may be. Doesn't cost anything, but it does give you tons of wealth. Wealth in energy, abundance in love, abundance in your immune system coming back to a really, really strong, potent energy. It will fuel your tank, and it will fuel the tank of others, and it will shift our world. I believe that wholeheartedly because it did mine. Don't underestimate the power of your love. Go give it freely. Go love on someone. Go to the grocery store and just compliment a lady. That one compliment can change her life. It can make her think that she's worthy of more than what she might be experiencing. See with those lenses and express kindness at every given opportunity. Your love can change one person's world, which in essence can change the rest of us. The ripple effect is something that we need to be witness to. We are powerful, we're not powerless, and you can make a difference in our world right now. Let's bring light by expressing kindness every single day. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you next time.